The reason we set out to do this study in the first place is that the diagnosis of acute flaccid myelitis is somewhat challenging. It's currently based on clinical and radiological criteria, and very rarely, if ever, do you find a plausible organism that's closely related to the central nervous system. So at UCSF, we have a metagenomic test where we take CSF from patients that have unknown neurological disease, namely meningitis or encephalitis, and we look for reads in the cerebrospinal fluid to try to figure out the etiology of why they're sick. And so, as I said, with acute flaccid myelitis, we rarely find any pathogenic reads in the cerebrospinal fluid. So we decided, because we, as part of this test, create both RNA and DNA libraries, that we could take the RNA libraries, align it to the human genome, and gain transcriptome information or host response information from the RNA libraries. And the reason for that being that we thought, if we can't find a pathogen, maybe we can find a host response that's specific for acute flaccid myelitis. I'd say the key findings, or the surprising things that we came up with, were first off that it seems as though not all acute flaccid myelitis is created equal. So in 2014, there was an outbreak of acute flaccid myelitis in the United States. This was largely associated, or thought to be associated, with enterovirus D68. There was another outbreak in 2016, and then, of course, in 2018, there was a third recent outbreak. And in 2018, it was somewhat special because there was both enterovirus D68 and enterovirus A71 circulating. So when we looked at the transcriptome profiles of patients that we knew had acute flaccid myelitis that was associated with enterovirus D68, and compared those profiles to profiles of patients that had acute flaccid myelitis that was associated with enterovirus A71, they appeared to be different. And that was somewhat surprising to us. Because, clinically, they're both diagnosed as AFM, but in hindsight, it may be starting to make a bit more sense, because work done by our collaborator, Kevin Messakar in Colorado, has really started to delve into the clinical differences between enterovirus D68 associated acute flaccid myelitis and enterovirus A71 associated acute flaccid myelitis. So it's coming full circle, and that the transcriptome profiles may be different, and that may be indicative of the clinical differences we see in those types of acute flaccid myelitis. So I think the key takeaway is that the diagnosis of acute flaccid myelitis is difficult, and we are doing everything we can to leverage the host response in order to develop a diagnostic test that we're hopeful in the future may be able to diagnose acute flaccid myelitis either more rapidly or more accurately. And we hope to do this by further development of the models we've created. But of course, that is going to take more samples, because that's one weakness of the study, is that the models that we've created are really based on small numbers, because the diagnosis is so rare.